Hey, welcome to Sylvie's technique vlog. If you're unfamiliar with my technique vlogs, basically I give a short version that's just introducing a technique or a concept, something that I'm working on. We call it a vlog. It's not instructional, it's not demonstrational. It's basically my considerations and my ruminations on something that I am currently working on, and I'm just sharing it with other people so that if they want ideas or get ideas or want to work with it for themselves, they can do that. I also have a longer version that I create for my patrons. As a patron, you can view the longer version. I talk way more in depth, give more examples, and tell you where you can find examples or lessons, actual instruction from the legends and crews and great sources of Muay Thai in Thailand that I learned from in the Muay Thai library. So if you want to see the longer version, there's a link in the description below where you can click and become a patron and see the longer version. Short version for today, Sylvie's technique vlog, is how to use the bag or how to do bag work in Thailand. So before I came to Thailand ever, I trained in a very unusual way. I trained in the basement of Master K, who was at the time a 70-year-old Thai man teaching out of his basement in New Jersey. And he had a very cool way of teaching, and we used a bag, but I didn't know how to do like traditional bag work in any sense. So thankfully I learned a little bit before I came to Thailand the first times, because you kind of get put on a bag and they're like, just go do this many rounds on the bag, and you have no idea what you're doing, and you just kind of like watch other people and try to figure out what you're doing. So having a little bit of a base before you come to Thailand for training so that you can train yourself is super important. This is tip number 1. 2, I'm going to go into a little bit that my understanding of how to do bag work has changed, and it's actually changed very recently. So normally what it would look like when you're hitting a bag is just like wail on it as hard as you can. Not everyone does the same number of minutes on rounds, so like generally you do something close to what you fight at. So some people in their gyms will have 2, 3, 4, 5-minute rounds. We don't fight 5 minutes, but some people go longer. I do 4-minute rounds on the bag. And it's generally just trying to like work up your stamina and power and kind of like work on your combinations and figure things out. This is something that I learned when I first came to Thailand, that I learned, like I was saying, from watching Thais, like watching how Thais play with the bag. So something that I learned that I'll show you guys here is to stand where you want to stand with the bag. This is, you know, like bag distance, and then you actually push the bag away in order to throw a strike. This is very cool. This is something I learned in Thailand because you would push your opponent off of you. So instead of doing something that's like dance away from the bag, because you want to be dancing away from your opponent, you stay here, you're like, fuck you, this is my spot. You go back, and that's when you throw your strike. Something that I've more recently learned about Thai bag work, which is what this technique vlog is about, is what bag work is actually used for. And it's for timing, precision, and being sure. And so you're actually working on what in Thai is called jangwa. You can go watch my technique vlog on what jangwa is. If you don't know what that is, I explain what that is there. But it's basically your rhythm and your timing. So you're working on rhythm and timing on the bag, which I don't think we as Westerners do very much. We like to just kind of like do as much like volume as we can in any given round of time. So what that's going to look like, I'll give way more examples and where I learned this and what I was taught by these people in the longer version for my patrons. But right here for the short version, something that you can work on immediately in your gym right now when you go back is when you're working on the bag, to work on your timing, being sure, precision, this kind of thing. Take it like kind of an early round or a late round kind of thing, where you're basically, you don't want to just endlessly hit the bag. You really want to feel the timing of when that strike is going to be meeting it. And stay close, don't dance away from it. You can keep touching it, this kind of thing. Right? And it doesn't have to be single strike, single strike. You can do like 3s and 5s and combos and stuff like that, but don't just throw them all at once. Like actually picture an opponent and find your timing for like when that strike is going to go. So that is what I'm learning about how to do bag work in Thailand. Again, as a patron, I'm going to be talking way more about this I'll give you examples of who I learned this from, how they taught me how to do it, and my kind of change in understanding of what bagwork is really for in the longer version. So click on the link in the description below if you'd like to become a patron and have access to these longer forms of my technique vlogs. Otherwise, take this to your gym, check it out. It'll totally change what you're doing in the way that you're doing bagwork. It's totally changed how I do it.